This episode is for you if posting consistently to your community's social media platforms is just a struggle. Are you posting and ghosting? Maybe you have a really good plan in place, you have the best intentions, but things just always seem to get in the way. Well, this episode is for you. I'm going to share just one tangible strategy that's going to take you from overwhelmed to organized. So stay tuned.
Hey guys, this is Ashley, Sprout's Content and Growth Marketing Coordinator. I just wanted to drop into your episode and let you guys know that if you're a Sprout member, you're going to want to be on the lookout. We have a brand new social media training workshop that we're going to be releasing so soon, and I promise you don't want to miss it. We'll keep you updated as we get closer to the launch date, but this also means that if you're not a member, now is a great time to join because then you'll get access to this training, plus so many other social media retention and marketing resources and tips. If you aren't a member, you can go to watchyourbusinesssprout.com and go to the membership page to sign up. If you are a member, we'll see you on the inside. Okay, back to Barbara.
If you're struggling with social media, first of all, I want to say you're not alone. There's a great quote by James Clear of Atomic Habits, and he says that we will rise and fall by the systems that we create. And I think that's so true. You know, when you think about it, as property managers, we always put in different systems. We have a system for collecting rent, for inputting that rent. And if we didn't, and every time we were trying to tackle it, we did it a different way, or every person did it a different way, it would get really chaotic and it would just be a mess, right? Well, when it comes to social media, for a lot of us, that's how we're tackling it. It's one of those things that we have on our list. Our ownership, our management company, it's something that they require, and yet it falls a lot of times by the wayside. And so when we finally do think of doing it, it's in the midst of a lot of other things. And it's very hard to go from being in management mode to putting on a creative hat and thinking of something to write or a clever caption or a clever video to put together, and then making sure that it looks right and it looks fun and it properly represents your community. So today, the strategy that we're going to be talking about is batching. And batching is a super helpful strategy because think about it, it's almost like meal prepping. When you sit down to meal prep, you have one focus. You take a little time out of your week and you're literally thinking about what meals you're going to either make or the groceries that you need, and then what meals you're going to have throughout that week. And then in the middle of the chaos on that busy Monday morning when everything feels like it's falling apart, you can just reach inside your refrigerator and grab whatever it is that you've meal prepped. Well, this is how we're going to talk about meal prepping or content prepping through batching. So batching, it gives us this ability to really step back and take dedicated time to think about our social content. And when we do that, it allows us to actually get in that creative space. So I'm going to share some tangible strategies on what and how to batch. So one of the things that I love to say is when you're in the mode and you've actually decided to batch content, it's something that first I would say put on your calendar. Set a dedicated time, just like you would do an owner's report, and nothing would get in the way of that, right? Because it was important. Set aside 30 minutes to an hour, either weekly or monthly, depending on how often you're posting, to sit down and brainstorm and batch content. And we're going to talk about different aspects. It'll be difficult to do everything in that one batching, so you can pick themes. But the first is schedule time to batch content in social media. The second thing I want you to do is, this is just my little hack, is every time I'm doing certain kind of work, I have a specific playlist that I play, and it puts me in that deep focus work. It's songs that I already know, but they're not overly grabbing my attention. It's just something kind of in the background, but it gets me in that like startup routine. It's almost like my mind says, okay, it's go time. We're getting into that creative mode. So whatever that is for you, you have to kind of figure out what is that playlist. The third thing is to set a time limit. So you've made an appointment with yourself on the calendar, but set a time limit. Sometimes, they say that work will expand to fill the amount of time that we give it. I don't remember what law that is, but it's definitely one of those laws. And it's true, right? If we have all day to do something, it's going to take all day. But if we set a timer for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, we're going to just crank out as much of that focus work, and we're not going to let anything else get in our way. We're literally putting on blinders. Now, there's a few things that I want to encourage you that are easy kind of starters to batching. So one of those things is taking new photos. Now, if you don't have right now great community photos, Set aside a day on your calendar and say, I'm going to take 30 minutes to an hour to go out and get as many nice community photos as I can get. Or I'm going to go out and get as many pictures of the different floor plans if you don't have those already professionally taken. Another thing you can batch is actually doing videos of the neighborhood or photos. So this is interchangeable. When we're talking about photos or videos of your community or your neighborhood, that's something that you can literally take dedicated time and say, I'm going to go out and take pictures of X number of maybe coffee shops, restaurants in the area, grocery stores, parks, different things like that, and make a list before you go. So you've got an actual route of what you're trying to get. And don't worry about it being perfect. Social has moved away from being so perfectly curated. People want to see real life pictures. Now, obviously, you still want to present your community in the best light. So make sure like the toilet seats are down, your umbrellas are all the way up in your pool, everything looks clean, the windows are open, you're using the best lighting. Use those tips and tricks, but don't get so caught up in it being perfect that you never actually execute. Now, another thing that could be a great thing to batch is just gathering content. So you might have content scattered all over the place. So you might want to take an hour or 30 minutes and batch creating Google Drive folders where you can have specific themes. So asking your team and saying, hey, can we get as much photos that everybody has of the community? And here's how we're going to organize it and where it's going to go. And that takes time. Those are the things that we kind of underestimate that they take time. But setting aside that dedicated batch time, that's a way to generate a lot of content that you're going to use later to build out your actual posts. Something else that you can use your batch time for is batching creating graphics. So Canva is a great resource for creating graphics. And one thing I would say is if you are creating graphics in Canva, when you create one graphic, make sure, let's say it has a tagline with something about leasing. Use that graphic, but then change out the background to 3 or 4 different colors. So over the next few months, you have variations of that same graphic. What right now statistics say that your average social media post is only seen by about 6% of your audience, give or take. When you think about that, it's okay to repurpose content. So while you're sitting down to create graphics, get the most bang for your buck. Make different backgrounds or change out a tagline and then download all of those and put them in your Google folder. Now, if you're using a service like Sprout that provides you thousands of graphics that are already done for multifamily housing, you can use this batching time to just schedule out your posts. And so you'll have a week's worth of content or a month's worth of content. With your Sprout membership, you get caption, templates, and graphics that you can kind of plug and play. So you could use an hour of your time to batch out an entire month, but then customize those captions so that they feel very personalized and very localized. So if you don't use Sprout and you're scheduling out your own posts, then I would say that's another thing that you could batch is sit down and say, I'm going to write 3 posts that include testimonials. I'm going to write 3 posts that are featuring an amenity, a different amenity. So again, even batching the themes makes it easier. It's easier to sit down and say, what are 3 things I could write about the pool, 3 different captions, or 3 different things about 3 events that are coming up. It's all within that same theme, and your mind gets to really focus and create some really great content. Now, there's a few things that I would say maybe don't batch. And those are things like resident activities. So there's aspects of that, right? You're not going to be able to batch having a ton of resident activities at once, but here's what you can batch. Get as much content as you can at those resident activities. So let's say you're hosting in November, maybe you're hosting one of the events that we featured and you're doing a resident appreciation dinner. Get as many photos and videos as you can. If you're afraid of showing people's faces and maybe you want to steer away, get photos that show people but their backs, maybe going to grab things from where you have all the food, your food bar. Or maybe it's like the display as things are coming together. Do videos as your setup is coming together. Do videos if you get testimonials from your residents, or just audio and video of the music that's playing. Try to capture as many of those things. And then when you sit down to batch content, use those posts or that content to create various posts. So you don't have to give all of the content away at once. You can do one post that showcases maybe 10 photos, and then a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, have another aspect that you're featuring. Maybe it's a marketing post, but you want to talk about it in the light of, you want to live here if community is important. These are the kind of events that we do. We all get together. blah, 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 or showcase a testimonial from that event, or a frequently asked question, but you use one of those photos as the backdrop. So while the event itself isn't batched, the content that you're gathering at that event is being batched to create a ton of content for the future. Now, another time that I would say don't batch content is when you're feeling it. Sometimes the mood strikes and you're just in a really good mood, you're in a really good like frame of mind. Sometimes you just wake up really happy, and that's a great time to create a video on the fly. But you might not have time to batch a ton of videos at one time. So don't let that stop you from creating just the one that you had in mind. This happens to me all the time. I might have an inspiration for a video and I'll say, oh, I'll save it for when I'm going to batch content. But later, I don't have all those exact same ideas, or I'm just not in the same flow. So I say, if the feeling hits, create that video. Even if you don't post it live, you can post it later in a batching session. So you might just add that to that folder, and later when you sit down to actually finalize and create content, the raw material is already there. Now, another thing that I like to batch are stories and Instagram Reels, but I have a mix. Some of these I do just in the moment when I'm feeling it, and others I have a little strategy. So every time that I have my phone and I'm going through Reels, I really pay attention. This can work for TikToks too, as well. I really pay attention to what is catching my eye. So let's say that I see a trend that's emerging and I see it 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 times and I like it. And in that moment, that audio sparks an idea for something that I can do for our social account at Sprout Marketing. Well, in that moment, I might then just take a screenshot. I might save that reel and then take a screenshot and add with my editing a little note over that screenshot that says, okay, when I do want to do this, this is the idea that I have for it. I try not to wait too much time because, again, a lot of times the idea, the full like thought out can pass if I wait too long, or the trend can pass. So one of the things that I say is definitely grab those inspirations, have a folder saved so that you can be ready to go. But then set aside that 30 minutes or an hour to say, I'm going to create a ton of Instagram Reels or TikToks with a specific theme. Another idea for that is, let's say that you get a ton of frequently asked questions, maybe how to pay and submit rent, or how an application process works, or details about move-in or neighborhood features, different things like that. I would sit down on a day that I'm feeling it, and I would have a list of all of those frequently asked questions that I would want to put together. And in that moment, you could either bring a few changes of clothes, like a few different shirts, tops, and just shoot like this face to camera and say, okay, today we're answering how does your rental, what is the rental criteria? Obviously, you'd have these thought out a lot better than I'm just on the fly, but you're going to think that through, have your list, and then boom, 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 create 3 to 5 videos. And then those can be spaced out over the month. And then you save those frequently asked questions to a highlight reel. So you start to see this batching allows you to pick an aspect of social, really dig into it, make it work for you, and it lets you put some focused energy behind that. So remember, make sure to put it on your calendar, set a timer for the amount of time you're willing to spend on that task, and put on some music that helps you really get immediately into the zone of creativity or organization. Pick one thing. My quote with social is that little by little, a little becomes a lot. And that's how it is. Right now, it might feel so overwhelming, but start with batching one thing this week and you'll start to see the momentum build. Every week, you can add a different layer, or you can even invite different members of your team to batch different things. So let's say there's 3 of you in the office. One of you is going to use their batch time to organize Google folders. Another one of you is going to use their batch time to get as many photos of the community, while another is going to sit down and get as many captions together as they can. When you start doing it like that every week, everybody's contributing, and now you're building that momentum. And of course, if you're a Sprout member, we take the guesswork out of this because we give you a posting caption template every single day and a variety of graphics to choose from. So if you're interested in that, it's our Simply Social membership. You can learn more about it at watchyourbusinesssprout.com under the membership tab. Okay, guys, I hope this was a fast and furious but helpful podcast. If you're a one-man team, one-man show, this can be extremely effective and, in a sense, really meal prepping, content prepping, getting those tasks batched to where you can slow down to speed up. And slowly this becomes part of your routine and it becomes a part of something that you're able to tackle with a lot more simplicity. All right, that's it for today. See you guys. Bye. All right, guys, that's a wrap on today's multifamily mix. Keep shaking things up at your community, your career, and most importantly, your life. Until we mix and mingle again, see you next week, friend.